This is one DOS you're probably not too familiar with. It's called PennDOS from IBM. And using a pen in this IBM ThinkPad, I can use pen input into any standard DOS or Windows applications. I'm using Microsoft Word right now, and I was going to write in the name of the show we were going to do today. This was a show on MS-DOS 6.0. But as it turns out, Microsoft has just announced an even newer release of DOS, version 6.2. So we will show you MS-DOS 6.2 and tell you what's new with 6.2 on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. And by Hewlett-Packard, Personal Computer Division.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet, and with me today is Van Wolverton, author of this book, Running MS-DOS, which I guess is the all-time best-selling book on DOS, Van. What I was doing here is starting to install DOS 6.0, and I just found out that, whoops, there's 6.2 coming out right now, so why waste the time? What's going on here, Van? Why all of a sudden is there 6.2? Why such a short lifetime for 6.0?
Well, you've probably hit on the question that'll be asked more than any other question this year, one that probably has as many answers as you'll find people to ask. We're short on facts in this area, and so I'll have to give you my opinion.
Okay.
I can't really give you the facts. But when 6.0 came out, not too long thereafter, Microsoft started hearing stories about problems with 6.0, specifically with the double-space utility damaging people's data. It was difficult to pin down any of these to make them real, but nonetheless, it spread. It's like when Procter & Gamble had the story about their logo being a devil worship thing. They had to change it. Right. And so I think that what Microsoft is doing is they're trying to forestall any further stories like this. They're coming out with a refresh of it, a few new features. They've made some changes to double space to make it safer. But basically, I think it's primarily to make their customers feel better.
Okay, today we will look at the newest version of DOS, 6.2. We'll spend some time on this controversial file compression function in the new DOS, and we'll look at the newest Peter Norton add-on for DOS. First of all, a visit to the Ziff Davis Labs in Foster City, California, to see what they think about the new Microsoft DOS.
Ziff Davis Labs is the testing center for the ZD family of publications. Product evaluations are designed to inform readers about the working aspects of hardware, software, and operating systems, such as MS-DOS Release 6.2.
So, for example, we would run a database, and then after we would run some update to the database, we would then see how well the DOS 6.2 defragger would go and compact and organize the disk after running that database.
MS-DOS 6.2 came out literally on the heels of MS-DOS 6.0 in response to customer concern over the data compression feature in DOS 6.0. ZD Labs discovered it was difficult to replicate the problems in a lab setting. In fact, problems had to be induced to be evaluated.
There were some problems with the data compression in DOS 6, but a lot of it was really dependent upon how effectively you set up your system. And if you're not careful in setting up your system and following the guidelines which Microsoft incorporated, you were likely to run into problems. And it was not as simple and straightforward as many users have come to expect with the DOS operating system.
ZD Labs pronounced MS-DOS 6.2 a solid product, more robust than its previous versions, with some nice enhancements to its user interface and a much improved memory management feature.
DOS 6 at 6.2 functionally allowed that memory maker process to work much more smoothly and much more efficiently with much less knowledge required on the user's part. Additionally, the double space utility, the disk compression utility, freed up a lot of disk space for users, and that's especially important for notebook users who are running more demanding Windows applications on their notebooks.
Utilities bundled with MS-DOS 6.2 were rated as effective. However, it's difficult to compete with some of the third-party utilities on the market.
Depending upon how much functionality, how much ease of use you would like, how much integration you want, many users will be satisfied with DOS 6.2, especially if they haven't used many of the third-party utilities before. But a lot of people who have used add-on third-party utilities such as Stacker, such as QEMM, or such as Norton utilities may find that they'll want to continue sticking with those utilities.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle Patterson.
There are lots of new features on MS-DOS 6.2, and here to show us how they work are Tony Audino and Ben Slifka of Microsoft. Tony, first of all, let me ask you the question I asked Van at the top of the show. He said that you didn't have all the information. You guys are from Microsoft. I assume you have the information. Why all of a sudden 6.2? Was there a problem with 6.0?
Sure. There's really two reasons, Stewart. First of all, after we launched MS-DOS 6, it came out, sold a lot of units very quickly, and we went out and canvassed our customers and talked to them, and they gave us great feedback on enhancements we can make to double space, new ease of use features we can put in, and additional performance features we can provide in MS-DOS 6.2. Secondly, there has been a controversy concerning MS-DOS 6 and specifically double space. Right. While there have been, to be fair, a few number of customers that have had data corruption problems, it's really been blown out, we think, bigger than it really is. But we feel we have to address that head on. And the way we're doing that is we're providing MS-DOS 6.2 with additional safety features and enhancements to double space, which we think will address these issues.
So are there really new features in 6.2, or is this just really a fix of 6?
Absolutely. In fact, we'd like to show you a lot of the new features that we have.
All right, let's get to it. Ben, I guess you've got it up and running, and where are we now?
Okay. Well, right now we've just started the computer, and in this case, both MS-DOS 6 and 6.2 have a feature called multi-config. And so if you have a machine which, this one for example, is sometimes in a docking station connected to a network, and sometimes we take it on the road. And so instead of having to copy config sys and autoexec.bat files around, there's a feature called multi-config which lets you control that. And I don't have to know what the commands are. So we're on the road, and so we'll take our no-net feature.
And where are we going?
Okay, so now we're going to the DOS prompt, and then I want to show you double space.
Okay. Now, we're not seeing the usual routine of rolling through all the drivers.
Right, that's a thing we did in MS-DOS 6. A lot of the programs that we had with MS-DOS, the HIMEM.sys, EMM386, they showed information when they installed. And so only now when we have an error will we print anything up on the screen. Okay, so now I'll get into the double space command. And this machine has a 200 megabyte hard drive, and which we've already compressed, and you see that C drive.
313, 314
Right,
megs.
so that's the total size. And so we're getting a little over 1.5 to 1 compression here. And I just want to show you quickly so the features without actually going through them. So you can quickly change the size of a drive. If you have removable drives, floppies, or maybe a Bernoulli drive, you can mount and unmount them, and a few other things there. You can also either compress an existing drive, so that takes the data on that drive, compresses it, and it makes the drive bigger, or you can create a new drive. Perhaps you're a little gun shy about data compression, so you can create a new empty drive and then play with that to get some familiarity.
Okay, what's under tools? One
of the new things we added in MS-DOS 6.2 is uncompress. And so just as you can automatically compress a drive, now you can automatically uncompress a drive. That assumes, of course, that you have not filled up that new drive. Yes, okay. And then as Tody mentioned, there's two new features. One is auto mounting, which is if you have a compressed floppy, you can just stick it in and access it immediately without having to type any commands. That's an ease of use thing over MS-DOS 6. And then double guard is a safety feature which we found in certain cases programs were actually corrupting the memory occupied by double space. And so with double guard, double space is actually checking its own memory on a regular basis to detect corruption and stop the system before anything bad could happen.
All right, so what else can you show us in 6.2?
Okay, well, let's get out. Another thing we found was that some people actually had hard drives which actually had data errors on them, physical errors. And so we wrote a program called ScanDisk. And this is a thing which does all the sorts of checks that CheckDisk does today, and it also does surface analysis. And it has a much easier user interface and a few more fancy repairing options.
So this makes sure that the piece of the disk you're putting data on really is
That's correct.
sound.
And so I'll, and in this case it's a double space drive. It wants to check the host drive first. I'll skip that and just go straight into checking a double space drive. And so we show you what we're going to do. We give you status. There's a more info button if you want to learn more about the details of what's going on. You can pause it if for some reason you want to see what's happening. And so this will go through the whole drive and check all the various structures. And so in this case, it's a double-space drive, so it's checking the double-space specific things. So we've done a lot of work here with ScanDisk to make it very aware of
Okay,
double-space.
so you have done a lot of work to address the double-space situation you were talking about, Tony.
Absolutely.
What about the mem maker? And I mean, that's
Okay,
an
well,
important feature
let's get out of
people are
this,
looking for.
so we can exit this, and there's a log that's produced.
Mm-hmm.
So now, MemMaker would take a little bit of time to run, so what I'll show you instead is this machine we've run MemMaker on,
Okay.
and I'll just show you the situation with memory now. And you can see in the bottom of the first table that the free space is 613K.
Right.
And that's without me having to have done any manual
So
editing.
you didn't have to play around with changing the auto execs, the config systems.
That's
and so on.
correct. You run MemMaker, you press enter a few times,
It'll
it
just
reboots a few
maximize
times.
the free RAM available. to
That's
you.
correct. And you'll also notice this mem display is new with MS-DOS
Yeah.
6, and it's much easier to read. We've actually even added in MS-DOS 6.2 commas to make that just a little bit easier to read.
Okay, what about for the Windows user using DOS 6.2 under Windows?
Okay, well, let's pop into Windows, and
While we're going in there, maybe we'll talk about some of the other features in MS-DOS 6.2 that we can't really
Okay.
demo today. Smart Drive was a feature in MS-DOS 6 that we had, and we got some feedback, and what we've done is we've made it a more conservative cache. So we've gone through and we've defaulted to having the right-behind cache turned off. So it's a read-only cache when it loads, unless, of course, Smart Drive is already there and it's right-behind cache. Then it will go ahead and default to right-behind cache. The other interesting part of Smart Drive, though, is that it now caches CD-ROM drives. On initial testing, there's been significant performance improvements for CD-ROM drives.
Okay, what
Right
can
now-
you show us new under Windows?
now we've started File Manager, and we've added several new tools that integrate with Windows. So one thing we've added is a file undelete
You have
program.
an undelete now, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's also an MS-DOS version of this that's included. And so this shows you the files in whatever directory you selected, and you can select them and undelete. It also indicates the condition. There's also
So undelete is automatically available in 16.
That's correct.
Yeah.
In fact, there are 3 levels. There's
Okay.
we don't have the delete sentry installed, but if you had that, you guaranteed to be able to undelete. So that's that. And then we've also added a tools menu. There's a backup program in MS-DOS 6, both for MS-DOS and for Windows, and it's accessible right here from this File Manager menu, as well as antivirus, again, both MS-DOS versions and Windows versions. And finally, you can get double-space information. So actually, let me go down here and select a few files, and then I'll come back and pull down the tools and double-space info. And it gives you a
that's
picture
nice,
of your
yeah.
disk. You see how much space is used, how much space is free. It gives you compression ratio information. And then you can get actually detailed compression ratio information on a per file
so you
basis.
can use double space inside Windows like that too.
Right.
Real briefly, Tony, what's the deal if I've bought 6.0 and now I want to get 6.2? How do I do this?
Sure. We're going to actually have 2 versions available. We're going to have a retail version available with the resellers that will sell for $9.95. It'll be the MS-DOS 6.2 Step Up, and it says right in the package for 6.0 users only.
Okay.
Additionally, we're going to provide MS-DOS 6.2 download version on CompuServe and on the Microsoft download libraries.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. All right, is DOS dead? Well, apparently not. If we go up to Redmond, Washington, we'll see Microsoft engineers already at work on the next generation of DOS, 7.0.
The MS-DOS project team has taken the real mode DOS model about as far as it can go, but refinements to DOS 6.2 continue to evolve. The next version, MS-DOS 7, will share technology with future versions of Windows.
Shared device driver model, shared 32-bit device driver model, shared core system technology, file system technology, memory management technology. Some of the features that we might associate with Windows, like multiple MS-DOS applications running simultaneously, preemptive multitasking, and advanced file system access and memory management will be found in future MS-DOS products as well.
Version 6.2 includes ScanDisk, a data repair tool that checks for discrepancies in your files and then fixes them.
During the 6.0 release, one of the things we noticed after the release and on CompuServe during the beta was that our previous product for fulfilling this function, this double-space check disk, was a little underpowered for what we needed it to do. And right after the release, we started working on ideas for improving the product. And after that, we decided that once we had the routines, we would attach them to some existing disk repair utility, maybe check disk, maybe another of our licensed programs that we've taken from another vendor. but it turned out that it was easier for us to simply write the rest of the program.
Look for ScanDisk to be faster and include extra checks in version 7.
Right now, ScanDisk can check a normal hard drive in, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but that's longer than most people want to wait, so we want to speed that routine up. There are also many data integrity issues that we could check that we weren't able to do in the 6.2 release. Checking specific file formats is one, preserving lost clusters and examining them to find out what kind of files they are would be another.
Even though the large majority of MS-DOS customers are already Windows users, Microsoft does recognize the value of MS-DOS as a product in itself. Version 7 will most likely address the need for larger hard disks in DOS and virtual memory advanced processing support. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
No software product is perfect, of course, and so sometimes you have to add functionality on your own. We're going to look at 2 ways to improve on MS-DOS 6.2, and here to show us how are Chris Barr of PC Magazine and also David Oldfield of the Norton Group. Chris, let's start with you, and I guess we're doing a survey here of what the problems really were on 6.0. What's your view? Were there problems with double space? Was there a risk you could lose data?
There were problems with double space, but there were not problems that could be easily replicated in a lab setting, which is where we do our tests. With 6.2, Microsoft has, we hope, corrected some of these mistakes and put a safety net on double space. Plus, they've added an uninstall.
Yeah, which is nice. All right, there are other choices out there for DOS. It's not only the Microsoft DOS, so obviously that's the dominant place people are going to. We have the Novell DOS 7.0. We have IBM's PC DOS 6.1. Let me ask you about those, and we'll start with the Novell DOS, which I guess used to be the DR DOS. The newest version is 7.0, and you have it up here. What are some of the features you get in Novell's DOS that you don't get in MS-DOS 6.2?
Okay, Novell is leading in the features war, the same way that DR DOS did, too. Novell DOS 7 has some of the same utilities as Microsoft DOS and IBM DOS.
Memory management, disk compression.
Stacker disk compression, disk cache.
Is it in fact Stacker that's in Stacker? I'm sorry, that's in Novell?
It is. It's Stacker 3.1 that's in there. But they've also added a few new things. They have security, so you can secure your desktop.
That's nice, yeah.
They have 386 multitasking, so you can run more than one DOS application at the same time. And since they are Novell, they've added networking. This can be configured as either a peer-to-peer network, a client server with your desktop being either the client or the server, and it has a universal network client, so you can attach to any netware 2, 3, or 4 network.
Sure.
And so we're going to set it up right now for network, and it's very simple. You just go in, pick out your card, accept, it loads the correct software, and you're in.
Yeah. So if you're a NetWare user, this is obviously
this is the one you want.
A nice DOS for you to have. All right, what about IBM's PC DOS 6.1? Does that have anything special in it?
No, nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary, but it is a good DOS, and you're going to find that on IBM PCs and IBM's notebooks.
Are there compatibility risks if you're not using the MS-DOS?
Not really. They're all pretty much the same thing, and they've worked out those compatibility problems, so one will work on any machine.
All right, final question. I'm the typical user. I've got DOS 5.0 in my machine. Should I go to the store and spend the money to get 6.2 now? Am I going to get enough out of it?
If you need disk compression, if you need memory management, basically you get those for free in the box. It's a good deal.
So you get all those utilities thrown in, why not?
Virtually free.
Okay, Chris, thanks. I'm going to move over here to David Oldfield from the Norton Group. How you doing, David? Very well, Stuart. Okay, David, you guys at Norton are in the business of sort of jumping on top of Microsoft, and they come out with Windows or they come out with another DOS, and you come out with something that makes it work just a little bit better. The newest Norton Utilities is 7.0, and tell me what's in there and how does that make DOS work better?
Well, as you said, we change as the way with DOS as it changes, and probably the most significant advancement in DOS 6.0 has been data compression. When you're going to use something like data compression, you need to make sure that the system that you're going to run it on is absolutely up to snuff in terms of hardware and software. So the Norton Utilities 7 includes a complete hardware diagnostics module. I've got the first screen of the diagnostics up here now, and I'll start the tests, and you'll see that that NDiags, which is what we call the hardware diagnostics module in Norton Utilities 7, will go through and check all of the system components, all of the hardware, all of the data-related components. Once you know that your system has no problems, you can have reasonable confidence that it's okay to go ahead and install and use a technology like compression. Whether it's the double space compression in Microsoft, or Stacker's compression, or AddStore, which is another one of the compression products on the market.
So before you go ahead squishing all that data down, you want to make sure your machine can deal
Absolutely,
with it.
both the system as well as the disk. And there's certainly a piece of the hardware diagnostics that checks the disk completely. But in addition to just checking the physical part of the disk, Norton 7 includes a module called Disk Doctor, which has been in previous versions. Disk Doctor has been updated, though, to be able to diagnose and repair problems that might occur with compressed files. So if people in fact did encounter data corruption in a double space or a stacked compressed file, Disk Doctor can go out and analyze the volume, figure out what's wrong here, and then, as I said, automatically correct the problem so that it's not like people lose data, they have a temporary moment of panic before Disk Doctor gets it back for them.
So is this sort of what the Microsoft guys were talking about with scan disk, in which they go in and check the disk to make sure of its integrity before you go dumping compressed data in there?
It is certainly a feature that you'd want to use before you install double space. We think that Disk Doctor and the other components in NU7 are there as tools to give you an insurance policy in case you have problems after you've begin to run the double space.
What else can you tell us about Norton Utility 7? What else do we get out of it that would make it worth it?
Another orientation for Norton products has always been to try to optimize systems, to make them run as fast as possible, to make them as productive as they can be for people. One of the preeminent pieces of software that can help do that is something that we call Speed Disk. Speed Disk has been able to pack data on the disk in previous versions of NU. NU7 allows Speed Disk to work on compressed volumes as well. So if you have a stack volume or a double space volume, you can now order the information, not only just in terms of compressing the space, but actually having all of the file information contiguous. A couple of advantages to that, one of which is speed. If you're going to get some data, it's probably going to be that you're going to ask for more data from the same file. So if it's all together, it'll probably make the access faster. But it also makes data recovery, if you do encounter a problem, much, much more reliable. And again, Speed Disk in NU7 works on all of the compressed technology as well as normal DOS technology.
What's the price on Norton Utility 7?
The list price is $179. There's certainly been upgrade offers for current NU users of 6 and earlier versions to NU7.
All right, thank you, David. That is our look at the new MS-DOS 6.2 and related products. Stay tuned now for this week's computer news on Random Access.
In the Random Access file this week, Dell has introduced a new line of high-end PCs under the brand name Optiplex. The machines are aimed at the networked corporate market and feature plug-and-play capability, meaning you can add peripherals and the PC will automatically reconfigure itself to accept the add-ons. The top-of-the-line Dell Optiplex features a 90 megahertz Pentium chip and a 210 megabyte hard drive for under $2,800, including monitor. Compaq says it will start selling its PCs through Sears. The first Compaq product available through the Sears chain will be the Contura Aero notebook. This is the first time Sears will be selling notebook PCs. Notebook computers may be terrific productivity tools, but a new study indicates that laptop computers are 5 times as likely to break down as desktop PCs. The study sampled 4 laptop brands: Apple, Compaq, IBM, and Toshiba. The laptops most likely to fail were the Compaq LTE and the ThinkPad 750. The most likely component to fail is the hard drive. Borland has come out with its Windows version of Sidekick. It's the first product under Borland's new consumer products brand name called Simplify. Borland CEO Philippe Kahn made sure the press looked at the new Sidekick. Press releases of Sidekick for Windows included Philippe Kahn's own Rolodex for 1,700 top industry executives. Did you know that you can enroll for college on your computer? More than half the nation's colleges are now participating in the College Link program, which lets you fill out one basic college application form and then automatically customizes it for the different colleges that you're applying to. You ship your application on a floppy disk to College Link, and they send it out to the universities. College Link software sells for under $35 and will let you apply to up to 8 different schools. What is hot on the internet these days? A recent report on internet use shows that the most popular sections on the internet are the new users section, followed by the section called ALT Sex Stories. 500,000 internet users logged on to ALT Sex Stories during the past month. The next most popular section in cyberspace is called ALT Binaries Pictures Erotica. Is an email message a private or a public communication? A court has ruled that it is public. The former husband of Roseanne Arnold was deemed to have violated a gag order on his divorce agreement with Roseanne by revealing its terms in an email message to a woman in Tennessee. Finally, a real practical use for the internet. Pizza Hut has announced a trial program in Santa Cruz, California, which will let you order pizza for home delivery on the internet. The online section is called PizzaNet and will include the complete Pizza Hut menu, prices, and let you know if you're within the Pizza Hut free delivery area. That is it for this week's Computer Chronicles. I'm Janelle Stelson.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. And by Hewlett-Packard, Personal Computer Division. Video cassette copies of this program are available. Computer Chronicles also publishes a companion newsletter containing details on products demonstrated and information on program topics. To order a video cassette or a newsletter, call 1-800-799-4949 or write Computer Chronicles. Please specify program subject for tapes. All orders include a free software program for auditing software use and information on the definitive guide to keeping your organization's software legal.